A nice wee quiet day at the Euros. In the space of 60 seconds, it's gone from you're going home to it's coming home. Mark Ogden, never in doubt for England.
Never in doubt. No, it was always very comfortable until the 96th minute, I think. No, come on. England have got through to the quarterfinals. So that's they've reached par for the tournament. They've got where they always expect to do at least. But, I mean, they were awful for 95 minutes and 50 seconds, weren't they? They were terrible. But they got through. And, that's all that matters in the end of the day. That performance can be dissected and looked at. But Bellingham and Kane scored the goals, the two big names. So, on the face of it, in black and white, good day for England. But I think if they're going to go any further, they have to really look at what happened, have a real inquest into the performance, change the team. But on the face of it, they won, they're through. So, positives.
Gab Marcotti. A rewrite for a journalist is one of the worst things, and everything was just ripped up and started again. What do you make of that?
I was thinking of poor James Ollie sitting there and in Gelsenkirchen. And to be fair to him, it was, unlike that United final against Bayern and, back in the day, he then had a whole extra half hour. But yeah, I mean, that's football, it's you can be terrible and score at the end, and then you get yourself a lifeline, and then you score right out of the gate, and then you play this 5-4-1 formation. It's funny because somebody, I won't say who, but they're on this Zoom. Sent me something sort of comparing, if you guys all saw the video of Biden kind of just standing there while everybody around him dances at some event recently. And I have to say, I shared it. When Southgate wasn't making his substitutions, I'm like, okay, either he really is glitching and just somehow frozen, or he really has or he doesn't trust his subs because he sees Ivan Toney on the bench, or he really has so much faith in his guys that says, all right, they'll turn it around. And I mean, I was shocked that, only the two changes really until injury time.
Steve Nicol, former Scotland player, former Liverpool great. How different is your analysis now than it would have been half an hour ago if England had gone out?
Well, clearly the narrative changes. And you've got to say that, you always hear us talking about, listen, when you've got ability in your team, regardless of how bad you might be, you've always got a chance of somebody producing something from nowhere. And there's just no other way to describe what Jude Bellingham did. He produced an overhead kick from absolutely nowhere. There seemed no way that England were going to get an opportunity. It seemed no way they were going to get an equaliser. It seemed like they were just out. And just before he sticks it in the net, they absolutely deservedly would have been out. I mean, they've shown absolutely nothing. And just a little bit of brilliance from Bellingham. And I'm with Gab. I don't know what Southgate's thinking or doing, or you're watching them even in the second half of extra time when they're so deep. He's not on the sideline trying to push them up. He's just sitting there. I mean, seriously, I understand when you're 2-1 up in extra time in the second period, you ain't going to go pushing way up high. What you should be doing is getting a solid position, not too high, not too deep, and just hold your ground and don't let them by. But for him to be sitting there watching them standing on the edge of their own box, you're just asking for trouble, And basically, at the end of the day, that's why Slovakia lost the goal, because they were too deep as well. They should have been pushing up because they didn't. They ended up giving those throw-ins away. They ended up giving all these corners away because they were too deep. So, yeah, I mean, this is a victory for England, but after Bellingham, it's hard to point the finger and say why and who's responsible.
Oggy, for Gareth Southgate, is it better being lucky than good?
Absolutely, because being lucky's got him into the quarterfinals. I mean, I suppose being good as well would help. He wasn't very good today, and he's not been very good at this tournament. And I think Stevie's right. The lack of direction from the touchline, the lack of changes early on, it was just mind-boggling. Because it wasn't working. It clearly wasn't working. And, the first half, you had Kane dropping too deep. You had Bellingham playing too high. You had no pace in the team. You had your defenders all over the place. Like the goal he conceded was a joke. And it's just like he's just sat there watching it go by as if, you know, somebody else would come along and do it. I remember when Kevin Keegan was England manager and he resigned famously in the toilets at Wembley by saying, I'm not up to this job. I can't see the game. I can't see the tactics. And it was like, you know, he's playing chess and everyone else is playing 3D chess. That's what Southgate looked like. He just looked like he wasn't engaged in the game. And when he did make his change, it was too late. It was just, he's got away with it. He's massively got away with it. And then you got Bellingham in the goal and running away, mouthing who else? Well, yeah, we know that Jude Bellingham was a match winner, but come on. I mean, the timing of mouthing who else after he's had one of the worst games of the tournament. Yes, he scored the one. Who else? Do me a favour. Harry Kane was 3 minutes later when he scored.
Sorry, Oggy. Am I the only person that nearly fell off the chair when the team came out for the second half and there was no changes?
There were no changes.
I mean, seriously, you've had 3.5 games. You've had 3.5 games to have your basic starting 11 show you what they're capable of. Now, we know at their best they're capable of being great. Mm-hmm. But you've had 3.5 games, and yet you still stick with what's going on. I mean, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I couldn't believe. I was sitting there thinking, you know what? You deserve to lose. You don't deserve to win. You know, things are absolutely atrocious, and you still sit on your hands. I mean, I nearly fell off the chair.
Stevie, it was the 66th minute with the first change, and it was kind of enforced because Trippier got hurt and Palmer came on. So I've got the notes in front of me here. 83 minutes, 18 seconds, Eze for Menu. That was the first real change that wasn't enforced. Why did it take him so long? Did he honestly think that the way that they were going was going to get them back and create chances that they hadn't created in the first half, Stevie?
In all honesty, I don't know. I can't answer that because, again, I don't understand why Saka's left on the field. I mean, as bad as most of the England players have been, Saka has done absolutely nothing. And when he did make the changes, as you said, and I was flabbergasted. Absolutely.
All right, I'll be contrarian. Do you need me to be contrarian and stick up for Southgate here?
Go on, then.
All right. To be fair to him, Trippier might have been injured. Personally, I'm sure Trippier is a very nice guy. I don't think he's a good footballer, and his part. But when he brought on Palmer, he's changing the whole system. So he's changing the game substantially. He's bringing on. He's moving Palmer to the right.
Cab, can I interrupt you there, please? Cab, please let me interrupt you. You kind of what you're saying there, what you started off is kind of insinuating that we should be patting Southgate on the back.
No.
You know, when the ship's sinking, it's a little bit late to start getting the bucket and try to flick the water out the Titanic. I mean,
all I'm saying is, it's not like he replaced Trippier with another whatever other bad left back he has in his squad. I don't know, maybe Shaw and crutches or whatever. He changed the whole system after that, right? He put Palmer went over to the other side. Saka went and played left back, which I thought was actually kind of interesting because when that whole Saka left back issue was raised earlier, both Saka and Southgate bristled that it would ever be a possibility because he hasn't played left back since he was 18 and just breaking to the side. And then your whole tournament on the line, what happens? It's like, okay, Bukayo, you go to left back. But I thought that's when he made his change. Was it too late? Should he have done it at halftime? I don't know, because to be honest, I actually don't think he's got that many changes that he can make with his midfield and his defenders.
Gab, would he have made it if Trippier hadn't been hurt?
Why don't you go with 3? Why are you playing him at left back? That's my argument. Why you play him at left back?
You could play Saka as a left wing back. You could play Trent as a right wing back.
You've got Slovakia way too deep, and you're still playing with 4 at the back.
And
you try to push forward and win the game. Get numbers in the box. Get pressure on the ball as quickly as you can. You don't need 4. And you don't need a guy sticking him at left back who hasn't played there for goodness knows how long, and who's probably unsure of how deep or how high he should be. I mean,
which may explain why in the end they decided to defend in the 6-yard box. Look, I'm not to say praising him, but I'm saying is mega, like the change I thought the substantial change he made was, and it may have been, yes, because Trippier went out, but he could have kept the exact same situation. And obviously it changes when Palmer comes in and Saka moves to the left-hand side. That's the change he made. He obviously has faith in his people. He obviously gets Jeremy. Maybe he has some analytics nerd who tells him, oh, don't worry, based on probability, our players are so much better than Slovakia's. And let's face it, taken as individuals, they objectively are. I think Lobotka would walk straight into this England team because they need a player like that. I don't know too many others that necessarily would. But you stick with your guys saying we've got better players. Eventually we'll score. We'll take it to extra time. They'll be tired. They will have taken off their bigger players. And then we win the game. Is it possible that all of this went through Gareth's mind? No.
No. Listen, I mean, one thing that struck me, Slovakia had a 37-year-old at right back, a 37-year-old at right back. Yeah. So put Anthony Gordon on, let him run at him. Just try and test the guy's pace. Because, but I don't think Gareth Southgate has ever made a kind of a bold tactical decision. He's always played safe, and that's why England haven't won anything. That's why England fell short in the World Cup in Russia. That's why they fell short in the Euro 2020 final. So it's not in his nature to be adventurous. And I think when he put the sub on at 83 or 4 minutes, I think what he was actually doing was thinking, what am I going to say when I got to the press conference afterwards? Am I going to resign? Am I going to say this is it? Because it was getting to that point. I think he was probably thinking, how do I kind of do this? Do I resign tonight? Do I resign tomorrow? Because that would be going through his mind. That is, he's on his 99th game for England. He's getting knocked out of the Euros by the 2024 version of Iceland. He's going to have to resign. But he's turned it around. And, a week ago, he's getting pelted by empty glasses in one game. He's probably only going to win in the Euros and being knighted.
Do you think he was also thinking, oh, those negotiations between United and Ten Hag over his extension?
Well, I think that's why he took Colin Maino off.
I was asking the question. I'm going, is it too late for him to go to United?
Well, I think he took Colin Maino off on 83 minutes to rest him just to save his legs before he starts taking over at Man United. He's already doing the United job now. He's keeping his players fresh.
The fact that a manager is within seconds, probably 90 seconds away from no longer being in position. That's how close he was to no longer being the England manager. So why did it take him as long as it did? Is it stubbornness? Is that what he is, Mark? And Gab's talking about nerds and all sorts of things. I mean, there's all sorts of things that goes through Gareth Southgate's mind. But surely, when you've got nothing to lose, you just go for it and damn the consequences.
I don't think it's stubbornness. I just think it's him. I just think it's his personality, his character. He's never been a person or a coach that's done something that's risky or reckless. And maybe it's not reckless to put a change of sub on, but I do think it's not in his nature. I think he's very methodical, and I don't think it's what he does to say, forget it. I mean, the one thing he has done in many ways to kind of suggest he has made a new approach is the way he selected his squad. No Grealish, no Rashford, bringing in the likes of Adam Wharton, Cole Palmer, being a bit bold, but he's not really played them. So he's made the big calls in his squad, but he's not really backed it up by his selection in the tournament. So I don't quite know what it is with Gareth Southgate, but I don't think you're ever going to get him throwing caution to the wind, even when his job's on the line. Because let's be honest, he looks like he's not enjoying the job anyway, so maybe he can't wait for it to end. But,
Gab,
hopefully another game or two.
I saw Gareth Southgate described as someone that would order a chicken korma with the korma sauce on the side, just in case it was a wee bit too hot. But they could win this tournament. It might not be the prettiest. They've got Switzerland next. We'll talk about that after the break. They're going to have to be a lot better, but stranger things have happened. And does he go from 90 seconds away from losing his job to suddenly having a chance to win the Euros? Does the narrative change about him if that happens?
It's international football, right? It's generally all about narrative. I don't think Gareth Southgate, for better or worse, whatever you think of him, since 2018, he's delivered big time in two areas. He's delivered big time results, which the FA care about. And he has delivered the fact that people actually like the England team again. He's seen as a nice guy. There's a positivity around it. Players from Liverpool and Manchester United don't cringe every time they're called up to play for the England team. And he's also shown that, hey, you can be the England manager and you can generally be a nice guy and a decent person. England have had some pretty nasty people in charge. Let's not forget. I don't want to name names, get myself in trouble, but you all know who I'm talking about, right? So I think from the FA's benchmarks, these things really, really matter. Now, does he play good football? Does he get the most out of his squad? I don't think so. But then again, the results are good. And I can make the same argument, and I've made this before, and I think Southgate's even made it. Didier Deschamps plays generally crappy football, and France become world champions and get to finals and whatever else. He's trying to do the same thing with England. And in international football, if you have better players and you don't concede goals, you have an okay chance of advancing in tournaments.
What about going forward, Stevie? I know you've got to do the Spain-Georgia game, so we'll get your thoughts on England against Switzerland before the break, and then we'll come back and get the boys' thoughts on that one. Bearing in mind everything we've said about Gareth Southgate, caution and everything like that, do you think that he'll finally realise that he has to make changes, whether it's personnel or whether it's tactics for the game against Switzerland? And why do I know you're going to answer no?
Well, first of all, it's sometimes facts are stranger than fiction. I mean, what he says about Deschamps in France is 100% true. I mean, they do play crappy football. We can't argue with that. And it's just a thing you can't argue with. But the other question, and I can't wait to find out the answer, is he going to go back and start that same 11 against Switzerland?
Well, I think Mark Gay's suspended, right?
Gay's suspended, yeah. So he's going to
Yes,
be
right.
Yeah.
But certainly going forward, let's probably talk about what the front four. Is it going to be the same? It's going to be Manu, Rice sitting, and it's going to be the same. I mean, I get the feeling it's going to be the same. Personally, it shouldn't be, but it probably will be, and it will be the same crappy football, and they might just do what the French do and win.